We are honored to be joined by the Honorable Mayor of Jersey City, Mayor Steven Fulop. Good to see you, Mr. Mayor.
Good to see you, Steven. Good to be back on the show.
You're looking very casual and comfortable as we tape at the end of January 2022. But listen, you've learned a lot in the last 2 years about COVID, about leading the city in the midst of this crisis. Number one leadership lesson you've learned to date is last 2 years.
I think the last 2 years have strengthened our team and relying on some of the key leadership people here to kind of make decisions. And then, I think trusting data and science and making decisions, even at the time, if it feels like there's public sentiment that might be pushing back, that you got to have some courage in order to kind of do what you think is the right thing.
Speaking of the right thing, what exactly is the vaccine policy, first for public employees in Jersey City and then for the city itself?
Yeah, so what we've been trying to do is just replicate the state's policies. So, one of the things we've learned is that a patchwork of different policies around the state, municipality by municipality, is really counterproductive, and it's really confusing for people. So while we were at the forefront of vaccines and testing earlier in the pandemic, we've decided to just stay in line with the governor at this point, not create additional hurdles, require our employees to be tested or vaccinated, consistent with the state, and not put additional requirements on the public right now either.
But in terms of public venues, I mean, we're interviewing the mayor of Newark, Ras Baraka, who you've worked with very closely for a long time. And I happen to go to the Prudential Center occasionally to see a basketball game. And as we speak right now, you must be vaccinated. You must show that you've been vaccinated to be there. In Jersey City, you do not have such a policy. Is that the kind of patchwork you're talking about? Yeah,
I mean, look, the reality is when most of these municipalities at this point put requirements on a restaurant or a venue, they're not sending the police officers in. There's no mechanism to enforce it. So it doesn't really mean much other than, in theory, you're asking the venue to abide by that. And at this stage, everybody knows what they need to do and what they shouldn't be doing. And when you have one municipality saying we want everybody to be vaccinated and show a card, you have another one, let's say like Union City or North Bergen, that says only in city properties we want you to do X, Y, Z, and another one saying we're just going to be consistent with the state, it becomes very confusing for the public and counterproductive. So look, the majority of municipalities in New Jersey are in line with the governor. That's what we're going to do here in Jersey City.
Real quick on this. You compete with New York City right across, obviously, the Holland Tunnel. There you are, Jersey City versus Lower Manhattan. There's a policy. You can't go into a restaurant without showing vaccine, proof of vaccine. There are some who argue that the restaurant community is better equipped in New York, and some people feel safer because they know that if you're in there, you're there with people who are vaccinated. You don't buy that argument.
Well, I mean, I don't. People are making decisions every day, going to Target and the supermarket, making decisions that are responsible, that they view it that way. And like I said, a patchwork does not work. Every day there's different information coming out, which makes it more confusing. I mean, the latest is what type of mask is most effective? Should you wear an N95? Does a cloth mask work? If I require a cloth mask, does it do anything? All of that stuff undermines trust from the public. So from the Jersey City standpoint, we say, look, we're better off being in line with the municipality, with all the other municipalities, or the majority of them in New Jersey, and just making consistent so people understand what we're trying to do. One final point, Steve, on that is that if you look at our positive rates, fatality rates, or hospitalization rates in Jersey City right now versus the other municipalities that have put requirements on there, you'll see that we're exactly in line with everybody else. There's really no deviation on that. So what does that basically lead you to? That leads you to the conclusion that a patchwork of rules doesn't make a municipality safer. It actually just confuses the public.
And just remember, we're doing this at the end of January. You'll see the date up there. Yeah, it's a moving target, if you will. Mayor, help us on this. Crime in Jersey City, crime in urban America, particularly in the last couple of years. What is Vision Zero, and particularly as it relates to fighting crime in Jersey City?
Well, Vision Zero particularly deals with kind of fatalities on car crashes and making our streets safer. But that's part of the challenges you see in an urban area. The other challenge is really gun violence and kind of the day-to-day struggles in more challenged economic areas. So, poverty and, mental issues and is really kind of leading to kind of a lot of the violence that we're seeing that's happening at younger and younger ages. So it's somewhere that Newark, Jersey City, Patterson all struggle. Every city in the state and country actually has struggled. And I don't think anybody's been able to really crack the code yet.
I'm going to talk to you about SciTec City in just a second, but I want to ask you this. We've decided to do a series that's simply called Democracy at a Crossroads. The graphic will be up on the screen as we talk. Do you think that's an appropriate title, Democracy at a Crossroads, or some have argued democracy in a very precarious, dangerous state? Which would you go with?
Look, I think.
How bad is it, Steve? How bad is it?
I think it's fair to say that it's in a dangerous predicament right now. I think that the advent of social media, how people consume their news, where the media has moved over the last 5-10 years and how they report, all of those things undermine trust in your institutions, and it is at a major crossroads. Everybody thinks that they're an expert in their particular opinion and have only strengthened and hardened their opinions, which basically stands to kind of undermine the foundation of this country. So I think it's fair to make it very, very strong and say, it's beyond the crossroads. It's at a dangerous predicament.
Yeah. Make sure, as we move forward, Mr.
Let me tell you, it's not good. That's the bottom line.
No, I know it's not good. And we'll continue to have this discussion with you and folks with from all different political perspectives. Real quick, SciTec City, is it SciTec City? Is that right?
Yeah. So you're looking at, in the 1980s, Liberty Science Center was created. It's been one of the fastest growing museums actually in the country. When you look at attendance, we are expanding it with 18 acres and creating an entire science campus that will kind of be the laboratory of the future. So we have 3 Fortune 50 companies that are anchor institutions already. It's going to have an incubator space, a public high school, wet labs, and it's really going to take kind of the science campus there to the next level.
Before I let you go, what is the current population of Jersey City? I'm just curious about that.
It's 290,000 based on the last census, marginally smaller than Newark, and maybe we need a recount.
No, listen, don't talk about recounts because the 2020 election was already done and we already recounted. You may be wondering, it's the mayor's 9th year. He's the longest serving mayor of Jersey City, except for the, let's say, former machine boss, Frank Hague, if I have that right. And you are not a machine boss. I just want to clarify that. Look, we've been talking about this for almost a decade. You said it was going to be bigger than Newark. What happened?
Well, look, let me first say that the mayor of Newark has done a great job. That's a starting point there. So, I think the change in Newark was a positive, and I think he's done a terrific job there over the last couple of years, and it balanced out the growth a little bit. And, senses are, not perfect sciences. So I think ultimately we grew more than anybody else in New Jersey, but we still came up short, and that's okay. It's just bragging rights. I still think Jersey City is the best city in the country.
Mr. Mayor, confident of your city, but also very diplomatic. As always, Steve, great to have you with us. All the best to you and the folks in Jersey City. Thanks, Steve.
Hope to see you guys soon. Take care.
You got it. We'll be right back after this.
State of Affairs with Steve Adubato is a production of the Caucus Educational Corporation. Funding has been provided by Bank of America, Suez North America, Delta Dental of New Jersey, the Healthcare Foundation of New Jersey, the Northward Center, Johnson & Johnson, the New Jersey Education Association, NJM Insurance Group, and by the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey. Promotional support provided by bestofnj.com and by the New Jersey Business and Industry Association.
How do you create change? By cultivating hope. And we see that every day. In the eyes of our preschoolers, in the souls of the seniors in our Adult Day program, in the minds of the students at Robert Treat Academy, a national Blue Ribbon School of Excellence, in the passion of children in our Youth Leadership Development Program, in our commitment to connections at the Center for Autism, and in the heart of our community, the Northward Center. creating opportunities for equity, education, and growth.